Try to take these out. And we've got a nice little, and one of the little dinosaur kale plants that I grew from seed. At our local farmer's market, I've talked to some guys with a lot more experience than me, and they've told me to plant these tomatoes. Okay, so I've got this box really full now, maybe overly full, but I try to be generous with my water. And really packed in here, I've got kale and spinach and lettuce, and some lettuce coming up from seed. Over here, I've got mostly tomatoes, but I packed in one little bush cucumber and some basil plants, and of course my rosemary that's been there for a while. You're also going to see some little radishes that I hope turn into something, but they seem to not be turning into anything. And then over here finally is kind of a miscellaneous bed. It's got a couple of small bush cucumbers, my sweet banana peppers and the serrano peppers I grew from seed, an extra basil I had, a couple of lettuces that needed a home, and now all I have to do is get everything. All right, I've been procrastinating on doing a full update on the garden. It's Memorial Day 2022, and I think it's time to finally stop the procrastinating. There's a storm getting ready to roll in. I think the lighting looks pretty good, so let's take advantage of the lack of the bright sunshine and dive in and see what we're looking at. So here's my garden setup. I've got basically 3 beds that are 4 feet square. Here's 2, and then 1 extra. This one's extra deep. Over here, I've got a container with my strawberries, a few more little extra strawberries. Got some peppers in some containers that I wintered over from last year. They're doing nicely. Sago palm that's decorative. And I've got a little bit of thyme growing in a pot as well. Now let's look at the garden beds. So here's one of my beds. If you follow me on Instagram or on YouTube, you see me post shorts about these various things. This bed's not in great shape, but it's not my worst one. I had a couple rows of salad bowl lettuce here that came up from seed. Here are kind of the remnants. I recently went through and picked basically anything that looked good, and we had it in a salad. Rabbits took care of it, I believe, mostly, so kind of lost out. I also had grown some salad bowl and romaine lettuce from seeds starting clear back in January. I planted that, and it was quickly taken care of by deer or maybe rabbits. So my lettuce crop has really been sad. Right here are the remnants of some spinach that I grew from seed. It struggled a little bit with the heat, but I've made a couple harvests off the spinach. It's basically kind of done now, and these plants are going to come out soon. There's another lettuce, some more spinach, and some spinach. Here's a basil. I grew this from seed, and it's taken off. You see those leaves are almost the size of the palm of my hand. Raised this dinosaur kale from seed, and it has gotten eaten twice. First by some pests like maybe a rabbit, and then again it was kind of stripped down by caterpillars. A couple of random onions here that I've had going, some of my zombie onions. Here I've got a curly kale that I grew from seed. It got knocked back really bad by the caterpillars, but it has come back and it's starting to look pretty good. I think my kale will come back. This is my 2-year-old kale plant. It's come back from several different tragedies. Currently you see the little kale skeletons. That's from a round of cabbage worms. But I think I've got them beat for now, and it's gonna come back for me. And right here, 2 more small kales that got hit with the cabbage worms, but they're making a comeback. In this bed, you're probably gonna notice a lot of weeds. A lot of weeds. And I think I've got a plan for this. It's going to involve basically everything except the few onions and the kale and the basil. Everything's going to get pulled and or chopped up and hoed under. And I've got some new things I'm going to be putting in here. So that'll be exciting, and maybe I'll be able to salvage some of the season for this bed. Okay. All right. This bed is the greatest success story so far. It's mostly got tomatoes in it, and if you look closely, you'll see a lot of tomatoes on the vine. I've been able to pick one nice red one. Again, if you're following me on Instagram or on looking at my YouTube shorts, you'll see them. So I've got a combination of Better Boy and Early Girl growing here. The plants are looking great. And I have this one sun sugar plant. It's like an orange or a yellow cherry tomato. And you'll see those coming on. They're actually kind of a small cherry. And they're looking pretty good. So hoping to see those. Planted in here among the tomatoes, I've got some rosemary. It's doing well. And one cucumber is kind of hiding back here. It's a small bush cucumber. It's actually doing better than my other ones, and I'm hoping maybe it'll produce a cucumber, but not really sure if it's going to work. Okay. So if we move on around here with this tomato bed, you'll see that I've got some more basil. We use a lot of basil, and I like to co-plant basil and rosemary. There's another rosemary with my tomatoes. I will probably kick it in gear soon. You'll see down here I've got this pine needle mulch. It's working really well around the tomatoes, and I'll probably get it in gear soon and just mulch this whole bed with pine needles to cut back on my weeding. But these tomatoes are looking pretty good, pretty hopeful. This bed is my deep bed, and I had big plans for it. I made it taller than the other one. I was gonna go for carrots. I planted a whole bunch of carrots and green onions from seed, and they mostly haven't worked. You know, there's my best carrot. Here are a few more little ones that are kind of coming on, but mostly I think it's pretty much a carrot fail. I've got a few green onions that are coming up from seed. I went ahead and put in the serrano pepper plants that I grew from seed. There's one there. This is a banana pepper that I bought online, had it mailed to me. That's a serrano. This is a sad cucumber that's probably gonna die, I would say. This was the best cucumber, and it had 2 different tragedies. Something broke it off, the wind broke it off, and then something else snapped it off, some animal, and it's pretty much dead now. I've got another serrano, hopefully it's gonna come back, and another banana pepper. If you follow me on Instagram or YouTube Shorts, you probably saw me harvest a couple banana peppers yesterday. They were delicious. Okay. And then these are my zombie onions. I keep, using and replanting those. I've got a couple nice rows of the zombie onions. And if you don't know what zombie onions are, hopefully I'll link to a video about that. Okay. All right, strawberries in the container. These things grow all through the winter. They don't seem to really be fazed by the cold, at least the cold temperatures that we have here. And they've really liked the weather lately. You'll see a lot of little strawberries getting ready to come on, and there's one just about ready to pick. The challenge will be getting this one before some creature gets it. Okay. Live in kind of a rural area, and I'm not sure what gets these things. Birds, rabbits, who knows? All right, let's go over here. I've done some updates on my peppers. You'll see the jalapenos. Like, this is the plant again I wintered over through the winter, and It's got a lot of jalapeno peppers hanging there. One of my friends who was born and raised in Texas told me I'm saying that wrong and I need to remember. Jalapeno. How's that, Jason? Okay. And then beside it is my lunchbox pepper plant. It's doing okay. It could be a little healthier. See some lunchbox peppers. I recently did a whole bunch of harvesting off there. Probably got a dozen nice red lunchbox peppers off this plant. So they're now. And then over here, got a thyme plant. It looks a little rough. I thought it was going to die, but it seems to be popping out some new thyme. I'd like to do more with my herbs. I pretty much do basil and thyme and rosemary pretty easily, and we use some of that. I'd like to be able to do some other things like cilantro and parsley, but I have trouble getting those to grow nicely. Okay, so there's an update on how things are going in my small little garden area, and I hope the motion didn't make you sick. I tried to not move the camera around too much, but I did want you to get a look and see everything that's growing. And hopefully, in the coming weeks, I'll be able to make use of some of that space where I had things that didn't come up or things that kind of are finished because of the heat, like the lettuce. Even if I had had great success with the lettuce, it would be about done because of the heat anyway. And I've got some plans to make up and make use of some of that used space. So keep watching and we'll see how it goes.